Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. um, if you didn't catch what it was that I said before the break, if a man feels comfortable around another man or group of men, he's more likely to allow himself to be vulnerable enough to talk about his past hurts, to talk about the things that he's kept inside for so long. But, and I say but, if that man feels comfortable enough to share and he doesn't get a response, you've lost him. And when you lose him the first time, what happens? He builds that wall back up. So I was in a group and I found that what I thought was I could be vulnerable and I could share some things. And the lack of response that I got in that group, whether it be because I had an expectation that they were unable to meet, but in that moment, I felt comfortable. And I shared some things, and guess what? That's right. I didn't get a response. So when I tell you about a man feeling comfortable around another man or a group of men, and you don't get a response, you lose them, and you're less likely to get them to come back to talk to you. But that's why I'm here. That's how Daddy Issues Reloaded, the podcast, started. That's how getting an interview with Anthony Franklin on his show, Swerve Nation, that's what got me on Gospel Impact Radio. So now understand what could have happened. I could have shut down. I could have been withdrawn. I could have just said, it's been working for me for this long. Let me just go back to my shell. But I didn't. I was able to find another group of men that helped me not go back into my shell. Because what happens is, when you're in that circle and you don't hear a response, this is what you feel. Well, this is what I felt. And I don't think I'm alone. I felt like what I shared wasn't important. I felt like I was just in the wrong group. And what did I do? I withdrew. Because of the lack of response. And I think far too many times that happens. And we as men just don't know how to deal with it. I haven't always been able to talk about my stuff. But I have to thank my wife, because one of the reasons is, like, she asked me a question when we were going through something. What was the root cause? I'm like, what was the root cause? Yeah, you don't want to talk about the root cause, because the root cause, it opens wounds. See how what I talked about earlier still comes back? But if you don't talk about the root cause of why you do the things that you do, with the things that you've done, you'll continue to spin your wheels daily. And have you ever had cut grass, or I don't know, it's like a pulley, and the pulley has teeth, and the teeth get messed up and they're stripped, or you're trying to take a screw out, but you've stripped the head of it, and you keep just turning and nothing happens? That's what it's like not getting to the root cause of why you do the things that you do. You continue to spin in a direction that's not going anywhere. Imagine being in a boat and the propellers are gone. you hear it, you hear the motor moving, but the propellers that move you forward or backwards, they're gone. A shark ate them. I don't know. They're just not there. You'd be stuck in the whatever body of water that you're in until somebody comes to save you, or somebody comes to look for you. We have to get past the place where we just continue to spin and not go anywhere. Understand this, men. If we don't get to the root cause, if we don't address the root cause of our issue, we'll continue to feel unhappy. We'll continue to feel withdrawn. We'll continue to repeat the cycle. We'll continue to deal with people in an inappropriate manner. We'll continue to, and the list goes on. And if you have kids, 8 times out of 10, you're passing these behaviors on to them. But when you know that there's an issue, you can deal with the issue. If you don't know, that's one thing. If you know and you refuse to deal with it, you're still accountable. You're still on the hook. So, for those, I'm going to I'm going to jump out on a limb and say, I think everybody has watched football at one point in time. My question to you would be, what do you think is the most important characteristic of an NFL quarterback who's successful? You may come up with accuracy, field vision, footwork, and ability to make quick decisions, and their ability to lead. I won't say you're wrong, but those that know, you know. And before we end, I like to give you some tangible tips about how to deal with your stuff. Have you seen Have you seen the movie All-American Underdog? The movie is about an NFL quarterback named Kurt Warner. And what I'll say is, we have to stay in the pocket of life to deal with the troubles in our life. We have to stay in the pocket of life to deal with the troubles in our life. So I talked about Mental Health Awareness Month earlier. So now understand, when you're dealing with mental health, there are pressures everywhere. There's pressures of providing for your family. There's pressures of satisfying your job requirements. There's pressures of dealing with the kids' experiences, whether it be physical, social, or cultural. There's pressures of being a husband. There's pressures of any groups that you may be in. There's just pressures. And some of these pressures can make you want to run, especially if you've run from them in the past. Some of these pressures may make you want to run, especially if you've run from them in the past. If you remember me saying, if you don't deal with your stuff and you wait until, I don't know what until is, but if you don't deal with it and you wait until, guess what happens? You take all your stuff with you in your current situation. But man, if you want to succeed, we need to stay strong. Men, if you want to succeed, we need to stay strong. Just made the growling sound with the muscles. Have you ever felt overwhelmed as a man or a father? I have 5 ways to handle pressure as a man. So, number 1, embrace the hits. So in the movie, Kurt Warner, he didn't learn how to stay in the pocket immediately by throwing amazing passes. He learned how to stay in the pocket by getting hit in practice and getting knocked down. And after a while, he learned to embrace it. The more you embrace the pressure that manhood brings you, the stronger you'll get. Because you'll be able to handle more. Now understand, in order to embrace it, you got to be open, honest, and transparent with you. Say this: I, fill in your name, and don't say I fill in your name. I, Oliver, will embrace it. I'll embrace the hits. But when you get tired of being hit, you'll figure out a way not to get hit anymore. When you get tired of being hit, when you get tired of dipping and dodging and getting the mess knocked out of you, you'll figure out how to embrace it. You'll figure out how to not do that anymore. Number 2, focus on what you control. My favorite saying, people get mad or they ask me, what does it mean? Control the controllables. I can't control what Tommy's going to do. I've been using Tommy I'm going to see my friend Tommy at the end of the month. But anyway, control the controllables. I can't control what another person can do, but I can control what Oliver does. I can control how Oliver responds. I can't always control the circumstances, but I control how I engage in them. I can control how I respond to a situation. No matter how much you feel like an overwhelmed man, you need to be willing to, every single day, step on that field and be open and be honest and be transparent to engage. Only thing they want is for you to engage. And nobody wants you to stay stuck. Nobody wants you to stay stuck. Nobody wants you to stay stuck. Number 3, and this may sound like real psychology, take a time out. There are times when the stress of life can be high and everything can feel out of control. And you may need to take a time out to regroup for a change. Those that watch this, if you ever get to this point, you'll understand what I mean. Regroup for Change is a company my wife and I currently have. You need to get with your mentor so you can talk about what's going on. Or if you have a coach. I don't know how many about you. If you've ever paid for a coach, you get everything you want out of them. And if you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing you a disservice and you're doing them a disservice. Because their job is to coach you. And the better that they can coach you, the more clients that they'll get. I'm just saying. But they're there for a reason. If you have a mentor, your mentor is there for a reason. And a great mentor will see the things. And I say this because I just had a meeting with my mentor on Friday, and he was like, the things that you've done is great. Your degrees are fine. You graduated from high school, college, you should have did that. But the things that he's pushing me on are the things that he sees that I can do that I have not reached yet. And I needed to take a time out. I needed to request time to sit down to get that information. Because I was struggling. So when you understand that sometimes, even with everything else going on, you got to take a time out because you got to regroup for change. Number 4, do small things well. You have to learn to move quicker in recognizing the triggers of your past. Kurt Warner had to understand how to move quicker so he didn't get hit. He had to remember real quick what it felt like in practice when he kept getting knocked down. He had to change his footwork, aka his thought process. Because if you continue to do the same thing that you were doing that wasn't getting you anywhere, you'll continue to not go anywhere. So, change your thought process. And then he also had to make faster decisions. So the issues don't just go left. When you recognize what your triggers are, when you see that it's about to go left, you need to make faster decisions so you don't go down that road again. And you're able to recognize it so it doesn't happen again. Remember, the small things, if you do them enough, add up to big things. Look at a brick wall. My dad used to do masonry work, and it would always amaze me how he'd have these bricks and he'd have these cement and he had a line and he had his trowel, and it would go from nothing to something. Those small bricks added up to a brick wall. Do small things well because they ultimately will add up to big things. Number 5, remember the big picture. The pressure you are feeling won't last forever. Number 5, remember the big picture. And no, the pressure you are feeling today, or that you have been feeling yesterday, it won't last forever. It won't last forever. One of the things that I had to constantly repeat to myself, even in starting the podcast, was I thought that I was alone. I thought that nobody else was going through the things that I was going through. Nobody else had messed up. But that's what happens. When you're going through it, you think it's just you. Which is a trick of the devil, because if you think it's just you, you're less likely to reach out to try to figure out if anybody else is going through it. And that's a topic for another day. If we don't talk about the things that we've gone through, we're robbing somebody else that is currently out there suffering from the very thing that we have gone through, been burned up by, and then come out. So we got to make better choices. We got to remember the big picture. Remember the big picture. You're not alone. It won't always last forever. And the things that you've gone through, or maybe going through, it's not just for you. It's for you to help the next generation not go through it. It's for you to help your sons to be able to feel more comfortable in their own skin with their own emotions so they don't grow up like you. And for all those that have grown up and you're perfect, this message isn't for you. Pass it on to somebody else. But there are a good number of men that are out there that are suffering, that feel that they're alone, and don't understand why they're going through what they're going through. If you remember what I said, haven't dealt with the root cause of why they're here. So I need you to take time and understand what you're going through is to help you deal with your son who's going through it. What you're going through is to help you deal with your daughter who may encounter you, and let that sit there for a minute when they get older. Oh, I've tried to equip all 3 of my daughters to deal with me at the age of 14 because I was an unruly hellion. I just call it what it was. And had I not dealt with all of my stuff, I probably would have portrayed that 14-year-old to be okay. He's not welcome here. So it's my job to help them recognize, build them up. And have I done a good job, an excellent job of it? Every day something reminds me I got work to do. But I'm able to recognize a few things. I'm able to come to grips with a few things. I'm able to understand that if I address this, I'm gonna pull this Band-Aid off, it's gonna hurt. Cause I got hairy arms. And that Band-Aid been on there for a minute. I understand that it's going to take time once I rip that Band-Aid off to heal. My question to you men is, are you ready to take the Band-Aid off? Are you ready to start working on the healing process? Are you ready to deal with your daddy issues? Are you ready to let's talk dirty? Are you ready to have conversations about the things that we don't talk about? Not just because it's a mental health awareness month, but because we don't talk about them because they're uncomfortable, because they're going to make us feel a certain kind of way. Are we ready to move past feeling that we're all by ourselves, that we're alone, that nobody's going to understand? Are we ready to do the work necessary to move past all of that so we can get to a place where we can heal? Where we can get to a place where our daddy issues don't control us any longer? Are we ready to work to get to a place that we feel comfortable being vulnerable with another man or a group of men talking about what has happened? I don't know about you, but it took me a very long time. And every now and again, I still go into my withdrawal feelings because I didn't get what it is that I thought that I wanted. But if I don't, in the expectation phase of life, if I don't set my expectations, I'm gonna always get hurt. So I want you to understand, if you hear nothing else today, you're not alone. It's going to take time. Healing is possible. You're not necessarily doing it for you. You have a greater purpose. And I wanted to thank you for tuning in. And I can't leave you without giving you to deal with your daddy issues today. Otherwise, they will deal with you tomorrow. Peace.